Hi guys, welcome back to Saturday Morning Cartooning, the show where we learn about cartoon characters from the past, the people that created them, and then we learn to draw them together. Before we get started, let's take a look at some viewer art. For today's lesson, have no fear, Underdog is here. Underdog was an animated cartoon show that ran for 62 episodes on NBC and CBS from 1964 to 1967. In a story similar to Superman, Underdog tells the story of the meek and mild-mannered shoeshine boy, who in actuality is the superhero Underdog. He fights villains like the mad scientist Simon Bar Sinister and gangster Riff Raff, all while protecting his lady love, TV reporter Sweet Polly Purebred. Underdog was created by a group of executives, writers, and artists from the Dancer Fitzgerald Sample Advertising Agency. This company, along with breakfast cereal giant General Mills, were responsible for the famous breakfast cereal mascots Lucky the Leprechaun, Count Chocula, and many more. This time, the agency was tasked with creating several new cartoon characters to help promote existing cereals. Executives W. Watts Biggers, Chet Stover, and Treadwell D. Covington, along with artist Joe Harris, developed several new characters like King Leonardo and his short subjects, Tennessee Tuxedo and his tails, and of course, Underdog. The simple character designs of artist Joe Harris made the characters funny and cute, but also easy to animate. Fun fact, Joe Harris was instrumental in creating the famous cereal mascot, the Trix Rabbit, and even came up with the familiar slogan, "Silly Rabbit, Tricks are for kids." This slogan is still used today in Trix commercials. Underdog and the other cartoons created by this team proved to be so popular that Biggers and Stover eventually left Dancer Fitzgerald Sample and created their own animation production company, Total Television Productions. Underdog is probably the most memorable of the Total Television characters and has had a lasting impact in pop culture, with his own live-action movie in 2007, and of course as one of the giant balloons in the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. All right, let's draw Underdog. And if we take a look at our reference drawing, you can see it's very simple design. In fact, he is based on a lot of really basic shapes and really basic angles. You'll also notice that he's outlined with a really thick outline, so I'm thinking today a fine point would be a good inking marker. We're also going to need a couple of colors. We're going to need a vibrant blue for his cape and really deep red for his costume, and sort of like a brownish tannish color. I only have that in a colored pencil, and that's for his fur. And everything else is black, so we're just going to use the inking marker. So let's get started with some real basic shapes. His head, and he's looking straight on. He's got sort of like this squared off head, and then he's got the, I don't know, puppy cheeks, puppy jowls that go down into a neck shape like that. All right. Then he's got these connectors that connect his cape to his costume. They just look like little ovals, almost like coffee bean shaped. And then he's got this rounded triangle of a body. And remember, right now we're just doing basic shapes. We're going to put details on top of that later. All right, his legs go down, and look at the way they go out. It's two diagonal lines, tapering out reverse. So as it goes up, it gets thinner, and then they are separated. And then he's got just very, very basic feet. These are the kinds of feet in my cartooning classes, I call them loaf of bread feet, because they look like loaves of bread, like you would get at the bakery. All right, so we are going to draw his arms. They go out on either side, and then they make a quick angle up. So just put two lines, out and then up, out and then up. We will put, we'll thicken the lines and we'll give him his sleeves in a minute. But that's all we're going to do for right now. So as we go out this way, let's pretend that his sleeve is coming down the length of his arm into this circle like this, all right, or oval. So that's going to be the inside of his sleeve. And then all we have to do is just thicken that line. I probably made them a little too long. And he's making a fist. I'll show you on the reference photo. His arm is going out, and it's making a fist right here and right here. We're going to draw the arms first. We'll come back and do the fist. So right now, just put a little circle on the end. We'll come back to that. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Here's his sleeve going into his costume, coming out of that sleeve, thickening that line. Make sure that the fists line up. And that's all we have to do right now. All right, those are our basic shapes. Now we can go back in and do the details. And there's not a lot of details. Very, very simple face design. Eyes are pretty much fused together right over the nose. A couple of hairs, a couple of eyebrows, smiley face, line for the muzzle, just separating the head from the muzzle area of a dog, and then just some basic costume things. So let's draw on just a line. This is going to be that muzzle line. All right, this is where everything is going to grow off of this. So we're going to do his nose. We're going to be inking that in later so we can give it a little bit of a shade. A line going down, smile line there, and just connect it all together. All right, let's do his eyes. His eyes are going to come up this way, then right back down. His pupils go right here, and all of those black shapes are pretty much just going to meld together once we start inking. You'll see it better once we start inking. He's got these little rectangular eyebrows. He's got two little hairs on the top of his head, and his ears sort of act as hair. So for him, his ears go behind his head, come around this way, and then let's just clean up this line so we know which line is which. There we go. The ears go behind his head, and we're going to be shading all this later. Right? Same thing on this side, exact same thing. Let's shade that in because we're going to ink that in. All right? Very simple. Let's do a fist. So on this side, his thumb is going to be coming up this way, wrapping around, and then all the other fingers are going to go here. So there's going to be 1, 2. These fingers here are tucked behind the thumb, so we're not going to see where they connect. And then this last finger, we actually see the end of that finger. And that goes into the wrist, and then that's done. Let's move over to this one. Thumb, 1 finger, 2 finger, and of course he's got that classic 3-finger composition that a lot of cartoon characters have, just because it's, again, Underdog is one of those very simply designed characters, so the simpler, the easier to animate, the better. So he only had 3 fingers. Okay, let's put on the U for Underdog. Actually, before we do that, if we look at the drawing, the bottom of his costume kind of bunches up down here, almost indicating sort of that he has an oversized costume, that he's real skinny, and he has this costume that doesn't even fit him all that well. So let's draw that in first. So we're going to draw this going down, and then just put another, almost like a smiley face right here, where his costume is bunching up. Alright. Alright, let's put the letter U. Now this is a stylized letter U. That means that it's done in a particular style, so it's very blocky. So this line is going to be, the top of the U is going to be narrower than the bottom of the U. Alright, so it's sort of like, almost like a squared off tongue shape, okay? And then it's got this rectangular notch on the inside. If it makes it easier for you, you can erase that line right there, and there's your U for Underdog. Alright, let's draw his cape. His cape is going to be going behind him, and then it's going to come down, and then it's going to do like a little flow, like it's gathering at the bottom. So it's going to come down this way, and then just do sort of like ocean waves into a point, back to the cape, and do the same on the other side. Down, ocean wave, point, back towards the feet. Okay, and then there's a couple of little lines coming down. And then the last thing, pencil, is just putting in, that's the line for his boot. Although it doesn't really matter too much because his legs are all one color, but there is a little line that separates the boot from the pant. Alright, so at this point I think we are definitely ready to start inking. So get your inking marker out. Remember I said a fine point would be good. It depends on how big you drew your character. If you drew it on the smaller side, then maybe the ultra fine point would be good for you. But I used almost the entire page, so I'm going to use the fine point. Alright, let's get started. That's that little muzzle line. And there's the eyes and the pupils. You can leave a little gleam in there if you want. You don't have to. All of this gets as if it's all one piece. The eyes and the nose and the muzzle. And then while you're at it, just go ahead and ink in the nose. It's actually a lot of black in Underdog. He has a big black nose, and then of course the black of his ears. Okay. Before I do the head shape, I'm going to do the connector for the cape. And then I can do the head shape. The smile, and then that line going from the nose to the smile. thick rectangular eyebrows. He's got two little hairs on the top of his head. And then his ears. And then you can go ahead and ink in those ears too. Let's give this one a shot. That looks pretty good. All right. That's one sleeve, and I'm drawing the arm so that it looks like it's going in the sleeve. So I'm not inking that entire oval for the sleeve. I'm only doing that part because the arm coming out is cutting off the back part of the sleeve. Okay. The U. The loaf of bread feet. There's those connectors. So this will be the boot, this will be the pants. Doesn't really matter because they're all going to be red anyway. And then the cape. All right. You barely see the pencil lines, but we're going to erase them anyway. Take a little time and gently erase your original pencil lines. All right. Let's do his fur color first. If you have like a tan or a peach color, that's sort of like his fur color. I only have that in a colored pencil today, so I'm using colored pencil. This is going to be his face. and his arms and hands. And then the rest of him is very, very simply colored. Let's do his costume first, and that's going to be red. Basically everything but the cape and the cape connectors are going to be red, and of course the white U on the inside. But everything else is going to be red. And over here, remember what I said, his pants are all one color. So don't worry about going outside the line over here. His pants and his boots are all the same color. Okay. And then the last thing is the cape. Other side. There we have it. Underdog.